welcome viewers. I am Pia and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines this hour. The death toll in Afghanistan's earthquake has risen to 1,124. This is according to the Afghan Red Crescent Society. At least 3,251 people have been injured and more than 8,000 houses have been destroyed in the disaster. Russian President Vladimir Putin has told his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping while meeting after the SCO that their country's ties are at an unprecedented level. These talks were held in Beijing. Putin has stated that their close communication reflects the strategic nature of Russia-China relations and has noted that they have remained united during global conflicts. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has crossed into China today to attend China's World War II military parade. He is being accompanied by his foreign minister Cho Son-hui. The parade will also be hosting Russian President Vladimir Putin. More than 300 people have been evacuated from their apartments following a Ukrainian drone attack on Rostov-on-Don, according to the acting governor of the region. The Russian Defense Ministry has stated that air defense units destroyed 13 Ukrainian drones over the region. 3 people, including a child, were lightly injured and an unexploded drone shell was found in one building. US President Donald Trump has warned that Israel's war in Gaza is hurting the country, stating that it is winning on the battlefield but not winning the world. He has urged a swift end to the conflict, noting waning support for Israel even within circles in Washington. India is in talks with the United States for a bilateral trade agreement. This has come in according to India's Trade and Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal. This is coming days after Washington has doubled tariffs on goods from India as a punitive measure for New Delhi's continued import of Russian oil. At least 20 people are missing following protests over lawmaker perks that have rocked cities across Indonesia. This is according to warnings put forth by human rights groups. 6 people have been killed and 1,240 have been arrested since the 25th of August. Vietnam has celebrated the 80th anniversary of its declaration of independence with its biggest military parade in decades, cash handouts to 100 million citizens, and the release of nearly 14,000 prisoners. Communist Party chief To Lam has vowed to defend the nation's sovereignty down to every sacred inch of land. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. The deadly 6.0 earthquake in Afghanistan. We're now learning that it has claimed at least 1,132 lives and the death toll is likely to rise further. As per the Afghan Red Crescent Society, more than 3,251 people have been injured and over 8,000 houses have been destroyed. The earthquake hit the Nangarhar and the Kunar provinces of Afghanistan near its border with Pakistan. According to reports, hundreds of people are still buried under the rubble and rescue efforts are underway. An Afghan official reportedly stated that their priority is not only to find the dead bodies but to rescue those who are still stuck and find the missing. However, there is a crucial 72-hour window which the authorities are looking to finding as many missing bodies as possible. The rescue teams are facing obstruction in reaching out, especially to the remote areas, since access via roads has been blocked. In the meantime, several nations, including China, the UK and India, have pledged support and donation as well as aid. The United Nations has also pledged support for the people in Afghanistan during this trying time. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Naresh Wadia. He's a seismologist joining us live from New Delhi. Thank you so much for speaking to NewsX World. We do know that Afghanistan is prone to deadly earthquakes, particularly in the Hindu Kush mountain range where the Indian and the Eurasian tectonic plates meet. Prior to the 6.0 magnitude earthquake, we'd seen a 5.6 magnitude quake hit the Hindu Kush region on the 27th of August, a 5.2 magnitude quake on the 19th, a 5.5 magnitude quake on the 29th of June, 5.7 earthquake struck on the 10th of May, and 5.6 and 5.8 magnitude quakes respectively on the 16th and the 19th of April. Is this kind of frequency of seismic activity normal in the region or a cause of concern?
Yeah, actually, this is the earthquake-prone area, and as we know that the earthquake activity is due to the collision of two tectonic plates, India and Eurasian plate. Is collided with the Eurasian plate, and it is moving toward the north side. So these earthquake activities taking place due to these tectonic collisions there. And this seismicity is common in this region. Earlier also we have seen the seismicity, and in 2022 in June also there was a 6.2 magnitude earthquake that was also not far away from this region, that maybe about 100 kilometer toward the southwest. So that in that case also there was also similar casualties happened there. This is a remote site, and the constructions are very big. As I was seeing that the houses are made of mud, stones, and just loose materials. So the destructions are huge, and it is going to be there. There are also some aftershocks occurred after this earthquake, and the casualties may be increased due to that, and there are so many injured people are there. So in this region, the seismicity is expected, the earthquake occurrence is expected, and we should take the lesson from these type of events, this event or 2022 event or other events which are occurring in this region or adjoining Himalayan region in the Indian side, that these earthquakes are occurring, and these earthquake has to be occurred due to tectonic activities are there. We have to take care that how we survive due to these disasters, earthquake disasters, and we have to prepare already, and we have to make our houses so that these earthquake can be uh, sustained, and we can sustain these damages are there. So this is expected, and it is there, and in future also the earthquake will occur in this region, although in other part of the India, Eurasia, Himalayan region also is there. So we should take the precautions, and I don't think how much the casualties has been taken. Maybe more than 800 has been taken, and what is the condition of that region is there. Although this is a remote site, mountainous region, which are the remote sites are there. I think it is very difficult just to make the arrangement to take the people to the hospital, and others are there.
Indeed, the terrain does in fact play a role in hindering the rescue efforts that are taking place currently in Afghanistan. With that, I would like to thank you for joining us on the broadcast today, sharing your insights into what is happening in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, viewers, shifting focus towards news coming in from China. Chinese President Xi Jinping and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin were seen walking together at Beijing's Zhongzhennai residence today. This is ahead of China's largest ever military parade. The meeting followed both formal and informal talks between the two leaders. Putin hailed the Russia-China relationship as being an unprecedented level, calling Xi his dear friend. She had stated that their partnership has endured global challenges and has vowed to promote a fairer global order together. Both leaders criticized Western countries in particular, with Xi Jinping condemning what he terms as bullying and Putin defending Russia's war with Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Russian president will be attending the Victory Day parade being held in Beijing tomorrow. With us is Mr. William Yang. He's an analyst from Taipei. Thank you for joining us on NewsX World to share your perspective on what's taking place. Interesting optics coming in from China. What do you make of this meeting, as well as the optics around the prior pull-aside that occurred during the SCO summit?
Yes, indeed. I think these optics are very strong diplomatic signal to the U.S. In particular, that China has strong support among its like-minded countries, like Russia and India in particular, and with China's ability to gather so many global South leaders in one event at the SCO summit, it is showing the United States that China is not going to lose out in terms of competition for global influence and global support. And in fact, China's bloc and ability to gather different countries across different parts of the world is increasingly going to account for a large swath of the global population and also the increasingly rapidly growing global GDP. So, I think this is both a display of China's diplomatic influence and strength, but also tomorrow's, I think, parade is also going to showcase China's rapidly modernizing and improving military capabilities.
Indeed, a quick follow-up to that. We've learned that Russia and China are deepening energy cooperation in particular. Both countries have just inked an agreement to construct the Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline through Mongolia, marking a deepening of their strategic energy partnership. The deal was announced by Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller following trilateral talks that were held today involving the Russian president, the Chinese president, as well as the Mongolian president. To what extent will this further frustrate the West? Because there were some reports that were circulating earlier that Exxon was in touch with Rosneft.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to further, I think spread discouragement across especially European countries because of the fact that deepening energy collaboration benefits both Russia and China. But in particular, this is essentially going to help Russia to, continue to have a important economic lifeline that will support its war effort against Ukraine. And that is basically going to make it even harder for European countries to really put pressure on Russia at a point where the peace efforts to facilitate peace talks between Russia and Ukraine are entering a very critical moment. And I think at the same time, it is showcasing the fact that relationships between China and Russia remain very robust, and Beijing is not considering in any way distancing itself from Russia at this particular point. And that's only, I think, going to increase the level of challenges and difficulty for European countries that hope to quickly bring and force Russia to the negotiating table. I think this is going to further complicate that particular effort and potentially prolong the process of being able to bring Kiev and Moscow to the negotiating table.
I'd like to thank you for taking our time speaking to us on NewsX World, sharing your perspective on this very crucial bilateral meeting that has taken place. Viewers, we're now learning that more than 300 people have been evacuated from their apartments overnight after a Ukrainian drone attack struck Rostov-on-Don, the capital of the Rostov region. Reportedly, 3 people have been injured in this attack. The Russian Defense Ministry has stated that air defense units destroyed 13 Ukrainian drones. However, it did not confirm how many were detected. An unexploded drone shell was also found in one apartment, which has led to a massive evacuation. The residents have now been moved to a local school while bomb disposal teams remove the shell. This comes amid the war escalating between Russia and Ukraine, while many countries are pushing for a ceasefire. In fact, Donald Trump, US President, had stated last month that the Russian president has agreed to meet Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky for peace talks. However, there's been no confirmation about this from the Kremlin's end. The US president even stated that arrangements for a possible trilateral meeting are already underway. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Glenn Grant, former advisor to the Defense Minister of Ukraine. Thank you so much for speaking to us on NewsX World. I'd also like to point attention to what's happening simultaneously. Putin is in China. We've seen him at the SCO summit earlier. There were leaders from across 24 nations who had gathered. Critics of the West have stated that what's happened at the SCO proves that Putin is not isolated. How would you counter them?
I think a lot of people are going there because it's China. I think we need to just remember again and again that you know, this war was started by Putin, and that Putin is actually managing genocide against Ukraine, stealing children and removing people from Crimea and putting Russians in their place. And this goes on and on and on. It should not be seen as business as normal. And that people who ally themselves with Putin are showing an interesting face, you might say, to the rest of the world. They're saying that, you know, that genocide, that mass attacks on another country don't count. I can understand China doing this, and obviously, you know, Iran and North Korea are involved in this. But some of the others, like India, it's worrying, because they're saying that they're going to throw away values that have lasted as well from the Second World War in place of supporting tyrants. And that cannot be a good thing if they're actually following and supporting Putin in what he's doing.
A quick follow-up to that as well. Donald Trump has not been very subtle about his quest to secure the Nobel Peace Prize, but considering the geopolitical ground realities, should Trump then reevaluate his approach to the Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, I'm not sure he's got an approach to the Russia-Ukraine war except for bullying Zelensky. I mean, he's totally in support of Putin. And I don't think he's going to change that, because I think Putin has got compromat on Trump. And as ministers in Europe are beginning to actually to realize and speak about. So I don't see that Trump is going to change. He can't afford to. He will just continue to bully Zelensky until either Zelensky cracks or Trump cracks, which also might happen.
Speaking of ministers in Europe, they've recently met in Denmark. The defense ministers of European nations had gathered in Denmark to discuss security guarantees for Ukraine. We've recently seen statements being made by the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, who stated that he does not think that a trilateral that is being mooted by Trump is possible. So in this context, how urgent is it for European nations to chalk out, to outline these guarantees and set them in stone?
Oh, very complex question there. I think that the leaders are not just meeting about security guarantees, but are actually looking much wider than that at the whole war and how it affects them and could affect them more in the future, as the German Chancellor has actually said. But you know, Putin has just said that there was no agreement for a further meeting. So we have to believe that actually, you know, one of them is lying. Either Putin's lying or Trump is lying. They can't both be saying the same thing. But I don't believe there will be a meeting in the near future, because simply Russia intends to keep going. They've made that absolutely clear. The last map that they showed their gains right up to the Dnieper, which is a long, long way to go, which is saying that they're not stopping in any time soon.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, joining us on NewsX World and sharing your perspective on these developments. We are shifting focus to more news coming in. US President Donald Trump has now stated that Israel's war in Gaza is harming its global reputation. This comes even as it makes military gains. In a recent interview, Trump has urged Israel to end the conflict quickly, warning that it is losing the battle for public support worldwide. He has noted a drop in US congressional support coupled with mounting global criticism. We've recently seen British Foreign Secretary David Lammy condemning the humanitarian crisis in Gaza as a man-made famine and calling for an immediate ceasefire. With several Western nations considering recognizing Palestinian statehood, global pressure is mounting on Israel to resolve the crisis swiftly. We've recently seen statements being put forth by Belgium as well as France. They've said that they will be supporting a Palestinian state in the UNGA session that is going to take place later this month. Australia has also pledged to recognize Palestine. Meanwhile, joining us on the broadcast is Ali Mohammed Abushbak. He's an independent Palestinian researcher from Cairo in Egypt. Thank you for taking out time speaking to us on NewsX World. Interesting statements by Donald Trump. We do know that the death toll in Gaza has exceeded 63,000 even as we are speaking. The bombardment of the people continues over there. Meanwhile, Trump has stated that this war is harming Israel's global reputation. Do you think he's then just reducing the number of people who've lost their lives to a mere statistic, just stating that it is negatively impacting Israel's PR?
Thank you, Pia, for having me. That thinks this number 36,000, according to Palestinian Health Ministry. It's not the exact number because there is a more than 10,000 Palestinians have missed during the bombardment, the continuous bombardment. The number of casualties, it's huger than these things, but it's a good news that Donald Trump, he changed his perspective with giving Israel green light to aggress and to invaded Gaza city and invaded controlling whole Gaza Strip and reoccupy it. So this is the change in perspective. But for me, I'm not optimist about this kind of statement because during the crisis of famine and starvation in Gaza, also Donald Trump, he request his close friend Benjamin Netanyahu to end the situation and to end this kind of policy because the international community start lambasting Benjamin Netanyahu's behavior and his right-wing government, the coalition. So among of this atmosphere, there is a change in front of the international community, especially in Western media and Western actor, Western also politician. They change their perspective and they are going to recognize a Palestinian statehood. Yesterday, we have seen the statement of the foreign minister of UK, and he's confirming that they are going to recognize the Palestinian statehood due to the Israeli doesn't listen to their request or their demand. So we are here in good atmosphere. We are here about the recognition of Palestinian statehood, one of the strongest a politician and a diplomacy tool to resist the Israelis' occupation and to resist the Israelis' plan about destroy the Palestinian dream with regard to the statehood, establishing their statehood. But also, Donald Trump, I guess he's trying to manipulating the international community and manipulating the perspective about his stand with Israel. So this is things continuously. Donald Trump, before he's housing the White House, he confirmed when he will be the president in the beginning of in the beginning of January this year. He said, I will reach to some ceasefire between Gaza and Israel, and I will end the war between Gaza and Israel. But up to now, we are in 9 months. So there is no any kind of a glimmer of hope to end the war between Gaza and Israel. Egypt and Qatar, they are they voted also a proposal for or the plan for a ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel. Up to now, yesterday also, Egypt media, they are deeply criticizing the Benjamin Netanyahu's government and his coalition silence without any response for their proposal to accept the ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. On the ground, the only people and civilians, the casualties from Gaza and also from the Israeli community, because is this Israel invaded Gaza, there is obviously from the militant casualties from the Israeli side. So the situation is terrible. Yesterday night, it was one of the heaviest night for the Palestinian who's living in north part of Gaza. People are concentrated in one area. You can't imagine. We have seen several of footage and videos and picture about how the much people are concentrated in one area above each other. There is no one single space to put your leg in that area. They have no other choice. They are shelterless and always continuously Israel bombardment, killing civilians as well, targeting civilians. That international community frustrated of the Israelis' violation of human rights and the global conventions, especially about with regard to civilians and citizens, as well as about the journalists. We have seen several of more than 200 journalists have been killed, and today there is a campaign against the Israelis' assassination and targeting deliberately the journalists on the ground without any reasons and without any warning for them, bombarding the civilians and killing them on live stream. That make the mood and the perspective of the international community change and transform from supporting Israel to realize that the aggressive and the brutal face of this war on the ground. On the ground, people, they have no hope. They have nothing. They are, I confirm you, Pia. I called several of civilians. And if you will see the statement of the civilians in the media interview, they are saying, we hope that Israel will bomb us with a nuclear weapon to kill each other. We don't want to feel sad on our beloved or our loved one. You can't imagine, people are wishing death, wishing to kill in a state of pain. It's it's something, you can't imagine the pain. You can't imagine the displacement pain. My family in Gaza, now I'm in tension because they are going to displace from our area to south part of Gaza. Continuously following the news without any part of mind. When people are talking to me, I can't concentrate what they are trying to say. This is keep the Palestinian continuously. There is no place for the people who's in North Gaza to change or to move to south part of Gaza. There is no place. There is no shelter. Even if you are going to displace from north to south, there is no guarantee for your safety. There is no a safe place, Pia. It's terrible. Yes.
Indeed, I'd like to thank you for taking out time speaking to us. Even as the Gazans continue to suffer, how much weight does Trump's statement really hold? Because there are reports now circulating that the Trump administration has drawn up a 38-page document, a post-war redevelopment plan to change Gaza and create a Riviera by quote-unquote voluntarily displacing millions. Whether he will push forth for it or not, that remains to be seen. Mr. Bushbuck, I'd like to thank you once again for speaking to us on NewsX World. Viewers, we're tracking more developments coming in. We're now learning that India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has confirmed that India and the United States are negotiating a bilateral trade agreement following Washington's decision to double tariffs on Indian goods, which was implemented on the 27th of August as a punitive response to India's continued imports of Russian oil. The US trade delegation has postponed its visit for the 6th round of discussions, which was originally scheduled for the 25th of August. Now, as of now, no new dates have been confirmed for the next round of talks. While there has been no date that has been finalized, India's Commerce Minister has emphasized that dialogue between India and the United States remains open and ongoing, with both sides seeking to find common ground despite the recent tariff escalation. Mr. Shyam Batra, a UK politician, is joining us on the broadcast to share his perspective. Thank you so much for taking our time speaking to us on NewsX World. Interesting statement by India's Commerce Minister stating that dialogue is still taking place between these two countries, because we've seen recent statements being made by close aides of Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, who had called India as Kremlin's laundromat. He's been doubling down on his statements. Today itself, early this morning, he stated that Modi is in bed with Xi Jinping and Putin, referring to what's taken place at the SCO summit. What's taken place in Tianjin, do you think that has rung alarm bells in Washington?
Hi, thank you very much again for having me. I'm Shyam Batra. Let me break that question down for you, because before Trump came into power, India was always operating with Russia, China, all the other countries in the world. Don't forget, they also joined the BRICS community. And does that mean that he should be forced to resign from the BRICS community as well? But the oil saga has been going on for many, many years with Mr. Manmohan Singh, the old Prime Minister. So this is not new news. This is old news. And they're just trying to back up their tariffs of 100%, which I disagree with. I think that Mr. Trump should have used the tariffs as a bargaining chip from the very beginning with all the countries in the world, and done an extremely low agreement so that everyone could escalate, everyone could start producing goods, making money. The whole world is in a mess right now. We have a complete mess. So the West is on one side and the others are on the other side. And you can clearly see the confliction of the Ukraine war and the oil and everything else. I mean, Russia has always dealt for the last 20 years, I think, with oil manufacturing, etc., with India and vice versa, and delivering goods, etc. This is not new news. I don't understand why Trump's associate is getting heads up and then making accusations of double standards with Russia, when President Trump himself invites Putin to Alaska to talk about the Ukraine war and other things, no doubt, I'm sure. But the bilateral agreement, the trade agreement with the US, I mean, it has to be completely reconfigured. I think it will cripple India's situation with Apple and all these other US corporations that are there with 100% tariffs. I mean, that at the end of the day, as I've said on your shows many times, it affects all of the people in the countries as well. The consumers are buying the goods. You're attacking the manufacturers and saying, well, in another country, we're going to impose 100% tariffs. Like in England, we've had some kind of low tariffs, but on the other side, we've had high tariffs on steel and other things. And these things are being negotiated by the leaders, but they've never asked the people, do they want this? Should we have this? It is an important factor. If Mr. Trump wants to win a Nobel Peace Prize, I think he's going about it the complete wrong way. It doesn't work on the ground of the economical stage. This is why India and the West are semi-segregated, let's say. India's kind of a neutral society, I think. I mean, they have also asked for some negotiations to happen with the war. Everybody is trying, I must say. But I've always said about the Ukraine war as well, it is up to the two leaders to come together with their teams to thrash this out as gentlemen, as honorable people, instead of slagging each other off and saying bad things. Okay, what's happened has happened. We can't turn the clock back, but we can make the future better. And I don't see that any reason why these two cannot come together. As I've said many times, I can negotiate this deal and make a better deal for the USA, for Zelensky, for Putin, because I know how to deal with these things. I'm just crying my eyes out here, looking at all of these people in all the countries trying to do the same thing, and nothing's happening. You know, Putin is set in his ways. Zelensky is set in his ways. Give them both credit. They both are running their countries, their communities. But the most important angle is that when you've got bilateral trade agreements happening, they've got to be open and transparent. They've got to be cleared. And India must come forward and say, well, this doesn't work for us. What else is there for us to do with you? Why are we being imposed 100% tariffs? Because we're buying oil from Russia. But it's okay for America to buy oil from Russia. Do you think behind closed doors nothing happens? It always happens. You know, this is business in the world of war, politics, and everything else. And, you know, running for mayor of London, I've seen a large scale of what really happens in the Western and whole world.
Absolutely, sir. I'd like to thank you for taking our time speaking to NewsX. In fact, India's Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has also today set the record straight. He has stated that Russian oil has never been sanctioned like Iranian or Venezuelan crude. It is under a G7 European Union price cap system deliberately designed to keep oil flowing while capping revenues. And there have been 18 rounds of such packages, and India has complied with every single one. India has not broken rules. It has instead stabilized global markets and kept global prices from spiraling. He's also pointed to the fact that India has been the fourth largest exporter of petroleum products for decades, long before the Russia-Ukraine war. So what exactly does the US have to gain from placing continued pressure on India is the larger question. But in the meantime, we're shifting focus to Southeast Asia. Vietnam is celebrating its 80th Independence Day with one of the largest military parades in decades. Thousands of Vietnamese have packed the streets of the capital, Hanoi. Many, in fact, camped overnight to witness the grand display marking 80 years of independence from France in 1945. Vietnam's top leader, Communist Party General Secretary To Lam, has paid tribute to those who died in the fight for independence. In a massive display of its defense capabilities, Vietnamese officials have stated that nearly 16,000 soldiers joined the event, including upgraded tanks, large artillery guns on vehicles, amphibious vehicles, and missile systems made by a state-owned company. For the first time, Vietnam also organized a televised naval parade off the coast of the port city of Cam Ranh in southern Vietnam. This featured warships, submarines, helicopters, and seaplanes. All right, viewers, due to paucity of time, we must wrap up this bulletin here. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned on NewsX World as we dip into a quick short break.